Ephedrine has a little bit of a euphoric effect, I feel. And it's more in and out. So you could kind of space it around your fasted cardio and your workout and then still have a good night's sleep. Then let's move over to ephedrine, synephrine, caffeine as part of the good old ECA stack. Kurt, you are 900 years old, so you started.
I used the original ECA stack, the patented one that was in a purple bottle before they.
Okay, yeah. So you can get started.
I think the ECA stack's a fantastic stack. I mean, you can still make your own with using Broncade or Primatine or whatever. And I think the appetite suppression from that stack is really great too, versus you don't really get that from Clen and the pure beta 3. So it was always easier to diet using ephedrine than just Clen. I've mixed the two, like ephedrine, caffeine, and Clen together.
Ooh. How did that go?
That works pretty well too. Well, again, the Clen, you keep the Clen low, 40. I have a pretty high tolerance for stimulants.
Same here.
Not necessarily something I'm recommending people do, but it does. They're different classes of drugs, so they can work through different mechanisms.
Yeah. And the aspirin is there to enhance the effectivity, or what was it, prevent the breakdown of ephedrine?
I think it extends a half-life.
Yeah.
Right, because that natural process, the body wants to stop that process from occurring. So the aspirin would the problem is you especially if you're injecting stuff, you're prone to hematomas and stuff if you're taking too much aspirin.
That's true.
And I take a lot of fish oil, so I usually leave the aspirin out at this point.
Do you think that the fish oil and vitamin E, for example, like both have blood thinning effect, could replace the aspirin, or is it uniquely to aspirin that enhances the effects of the ephedrine?
It would be the aspirin unique for the half-life prolonging, but the blood thinning from fish oil, specifically EPA, not DHA. So I take a much more DHA than EPA.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
Just because I was, when I took higher EPA, sometimes I would get hematomas and stuff. You can see from an injection, you get like a bruise.
Yeah.
So not necessarily the safest thing.
No. And the problem with aspirin is that it can reduce your stomach lining, even a baby aspirin of 81 milligrams. So unless you're like really on top of your glutamine, which I forgot for a while, and then I started getting some digestive issues. I felt like my stomach was really eating itself, burning itself from the inside. So you need to be on glutamine when you take oral steroids, and especially when you take the ECA stack, because the aspirin is lowering your stomach lining, and then you need to supplement with glutamine to kind of keep the stomach lining thick to prevent the acidity, which is also going to be changed from the steroids that you're taking, unless you just do the ECA stack solo. But then, that's very unlikely if you're watching the Anabolic Roundtable.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, I used it solo a bunch of times. That was all that was available.
Ephedrine was my gateway drug into steroids.
I mean, that was
the stackers too.
1990s, that's what was around. Yeah, exactly. All those brands, right? There was the original Hydroxycut and all those, but they weren't like the real, right? They used Willobark instead of aspirin. That was the difference.
Yeah, Mohong and
they couldn't
Ephedra.
Ephedra, yeah.
Yeah, good times. We used to take that during festivals.
When they outlawed the original ECA stack, whatever website I was buying from, I think I bought like 50 bottles before they canned it. I had it for years sitting in my closet.
Ephedrine was also a part of Agent Orange, right? Or Ultimate Orange?
Ultimate Orange, that's all. It was like basically like Tang with ephedrine in it.
Yeah.
Chain.
Crazy. Dean, did you ever use the ECA stack?
I did.
How was it?
Like Kurt said, very potent appetite suppression. I when he was taking ephedrine, on an empty stomach, within 15-20 minutes, you're riding that wave of pure energy that it can be a little bit exhilarating, I suppose is the easy way to explain it. That you start your cardio, you might find it a little bit difficult to get warmed up, get your sort of cadence going, and then all of a sudden it kicks in and you're listening to whatever music, rock or trance or whatever, and your heart rate is all of a sudden at 140, 150 because you don't even realize how fast you're running on the cross trainer or cycling on the bike. It's quite a pleasurable experience, both from lipolysis and energy.
Ephedrine has a little bit of a euphoric effect, I feel. and it's more in and out. So you could kind of space it around your fasted cardio and your workout and then still have a good night's sleep. Whereas with clenbuterol, of course, and mirabegron, that has a prolonged half-life, but mirabegron doesn't really interfere with your sleep. So for the guys that have issues sleeping, I would always tell them stick with albuterol and ephedrine and cycle through them. Because then you basically have a 4-hour window where you can do your activity, take a nap, take another serving, and then have a proper night's sleep. I only did the ECA Stack once, but for me, it was always hard to source the ephedrine and whether that was in Holland or here in Asia, because ephedrine is highly banned because they kind of classified it as an amphetamine. And if you take ephedrine here in Asia, then on a 5-panel urine test, you would pee purple. And then the police is like, okay, you took amphetamines, when in reality it was ephedrine. And they use ephedrine here to make amphetamines. So it's completely unavailable. Like Adderall, ephedrine, dexedrine, Vyvanse, all that stuff, not available here in Asia. And once in a while, the Koreans would bring me injectable ephedrine from Korea, pharmaceutical grade, 20 milligrams per 1 milliliter. And that's something else.
Yep.
That is something else. Yeah. So I would only run that during the World Championships as a pick-me-up. Yeah, as a pick-me-up, because I would have like 17 clients in one show, or 15 to 17 clients, and no time to sleep because you had to dial everybody in running through the hotel room. So, yeah, injectable ephedrine kept me going, and I always lost like 10 pounds over the week. Yeah, because you're just moving all the time, looking at people, helping them with posing, applying tan, going to the next client, bringing some food, what they need, and opening up your medicine box. So yeah, it was good times. But yeah, besides that, here in Asia, I would not recommend people to use it, whether they're in Arab countries or Asian countries, because it will make you fail a drug test, and that's hard to explain. Still, the fat loss effects are very noticeable of the ECA Stack, ephedrine. What about Synephrine? Before we skip over that.
It's kind of like a half-assed version of they added it, I think Hydroxycut added it to their product like in addition, and then you just felt like really loopy on it. And then as the laws, at least in the United States, changed, they were substituting Synephrine for Ephedrine in the products.
Oh, really?
It never quite worked. You still felt the same jitteriness and energy from it, but you never quite saw the same fat loss effects.
Yeah, that was
but it was always combined with like 12 other products, like in a jar. It was kind of hard to isolate what was doing what.
Yeah, probably put some caffeine in there and other stuff, and you don't really get that nice synergistic effect you would get from the ECA Stack.
Yeah.
I don't think it has the same adrenergic binding affinity as ephedrine, so it's a very softer compound. Definitely if you took ECA and then you took a product with Synephrine, you could tell the difference. But Synephrine is quote unquote legal, as like bitter orange peel extract is how it's often sold.
Right.
But I don't, it's one of those ones that's on the fence that, yeah, sure, add it in if it's available and it's not breaking the bank from a budget perspective, but I don't see it being as good as ephedrine.
No, you're not like seeking it out. So here it's over the counter, but ephedrine is legal, but you have to go to a pharmacy and show your driver's license, and they scan it. And they limit the quantity that you can buy per month. And you just sign like a waiver. It's because the same reason, because people make meth out of it. So they're limiting the amount.
Good to do that there also.
It's really low limit. It's like a box. I don't know the exact law. It's like a box a month or something stupid.
We have a similar we have a similar law here for pseudo ephedrine, because obviously it's
same stuff.
It's basically the same. It's just an enantiomer. So they limit the sales of pseudoephedrine, which is always an interesting thing if you ever have like sinus issues here and you're trying to tell a pharmacist, can I have a box of Sudafed, which is the brand name, or pseudoephedrine. They're like questioning, you're like, I just want it because I've got bad sinus pain.
Yeah, look at this.
Yeah.
I'm going to shine a light in there. You can't see anything.
Well, I suppose going in with the bald head and beard doesn't help.
No, you get typecast.
If people know what reference I'm making there, but yeah, it's definitely.
Don't forget your Lonsdale.
Yeah.
It's a European thing.
So like with how we approach obviously using these, they're similar as an adrenergic agonist, like what we're using with the beta adrenergic agonist, just a different receptor. And again, all you're doing is stimulating catecholamine release. You're stimulating adrenaline, which then feeds off again into the cascade of lipolysis even more.
Yeah. Yeah, I made a whole deep dive about that. So like ephedrine, pseudoephedrine, and most of these fat burners besides mirabegron are included in the prohibited list. Albuterol you can only inhale up to 1600 micrograms. So I made an entire deep dive on how to release catecholamines with various practices. You can get a stimulatory effect that way. But off the top of my head, I can't remember what I wrote there. Like some of these deep dives, when I make it, it goes in and out as soon as the video is recorded. So guys, if you want to watch that segment, just go to the WADA prohibited list of 2025. And I'm sure there's a timestamp for it to send you on your way. But if you don't care about that, then just stick to the stuff that you can find.
Yeah.
And that you can tolerate.
A tip in the US, if you're going to buy ephedrine at the counter, don't bring like red phosphorus and hydrous ammonia, lantern fuel, those kind of things. Do that purchase separate because you're probably going to raise suspicion.
And you have to buy each ingredient at a separate store, right? And use different credit cards, some cash,
so like big boxes of matchbooks and stuff. You don't want to buy that stuff when you buy ephedrine because the pharmacist will probably know what you're doing.
Good.
And hydrous ammonia especially, it's really hard to find over the counter. And it's really flammable. So be really careful with that stuff.
I think we just lost monetization for home brewing. I'll ask Chase for some advice.
I didn't say how to do it. Wait, is that
okay.
The next thing Chase is going to do? How to cook them.
For sure, if I turn this into a short, 100%. 100%. All right. So with that out of the way, where we're going to rank these kinds of drugs?
S all day.
All day? Dean?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, cool. Moving over to the next.